Hello students, this is for 8th standard. The second chapter is physical quantities and measurement. So in this lesson you are going to learn about density, how to find the density of an object, if it is regular or irregular object, and also density of liquid. And towards the end you will be learning about law of rotation. Okay, shall we begin? Okay. What is density? Now, as you all know that all around us there is matter present in the form of solid, in the form of liquid, and in the form of gas. Okay. So, as you all know that matter has got mass, and it will occupy certain volume from the surrounding. So definitely it will have some density. So density is nothing but it is the ratio of mass and volume. Like for example, I have a stone. Okay. So if I try to weigh, it will have mass and it is occupying some space from the surrounding. So definitely it will have density. Correct? So density is nothing but the ratio of mass and volume. So suppose there are two different objects. You have two different objects, okay, made out of different materials. Suppose I say that they both have the same mass. If they have the same mass, they will not have same volume. So density of both these objects will be different. Suppose I have two different objects having same volume. Volume is the same. Since the objects are different objects, when they have same volume, they will not have the same mass. So density will be different. Okay. So density is the ratio of mass and volume. How densely packed the molecules are within an object gives you the density of the object. Correct? Now, suppose the objects are regular objects. If you know the mass, you can use a weighing scale to find the mass of the object. Okay, you use a weighing scale, you get a certain value. Now this sphere, now this is a sphere, solid sphere, it is 25 grams. If I know the radius of this, I can use the formula. Since it's a regular solid, using formula I can find the density of this sphere. Now the formula for sphere is, formula of volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube. So you need to know the radius. So if you know the radius, you can find the volume. You know the volume, you can find mass. So using the formula density equals mass upon volume, you can find the density of this sphere. If the object is cuboid, a cuboid like this, you know the mass, you can find the mass of the cuboid. You can use the formula to find the volume. If you know the length, you know the height, you know the depth. So using the formula volume is equal to length into breadth into height, you can find the volume. You know the mass, so you can find the density of the object. Suppose you have a cylinder object, it is a cylinder. You can find the mass of the cylinder using the formula. You need to know the height of the cylinder, you need to know the radius of the cylinder. So using the formula, volume of this is equal to pi r square h. Using this formula you can find the volume. So you know the mass, you know the volume, you can find the density of this cell. Okay, so this is true for regular objects. If the object is a cube, you know the volume of a cube is given by length multiplied by length multiplied by length, which gives you the volume. You can find the mass using the weighing scale to find the density. But what if the solids are of irregular shape like this? Now here You don't know the dimension, it's not of a regular shape. So how do you find the volume of such spheres, and for that matter density of such irregular solids? That is what we are going to learn here. Right? Before that, you need to know the different instruments which are being used to find volume of a liquid and volume of an irregular solid. Now this is a measuring cylinder which can be used to find the volume of an irregular solid or volume of liquid. So what is a measuring cylinder? Now I have two measuring cylinders of different volumes. You can see the capacity of this measuring cylinder is 250 ml. Volume is measured in terms of milliliters. It is graduated in such a way that reading starts, zero mark will be at the bottom. And this is another measuring cylinder which is of 100 ml. So it measures 100 ml of liquid. And another type of instrument which can be used is an Eureka can. Now Eureka can is made out of metal or plastic. It has got a spout, so you have to fill water up to this level, lower level of the opening, and then you have to put in, I'll be demonstrating. This is an Eureka can which is used to measure the density of irregular solids and liquids. Then you also have fixed measuring canes which are used to measure petrol, diesel. So they will have a fixed volume with handle present. Okay. Then you have a density bottle. Using that density bottle also you can find the density of the given liquid. Right? So now I am going to explain how to find the density of an irregular solid. I have an irregular solid here. First I have to find the mass of this solid. I weigh this solid. So mass is around 25 grams. So I got a mass of this. Now I need to know the volume, find the volume of this irregular solid. Now you take water in a measuring cylinder up to a known value. Now in this case water is around 70 milliliters. So when I immerse the stone in the measuring cylinder, you find that we rise in water level because this space is being occupied, which is meant for water, is being occupied by the stone, so the water level will rise. So the new level here is 85. So 85 minus 70 gives you 15 milliliters. So volume of the stone is 15 milliliters. So when you know the volume, when you know the mass, which is 25, so when you divide that mass by volume, you get a density of irregular solid. Correct? The other way in which you can find is, you can use an Eureka can, fill it with water up to its brim. Fill it with water up to its brim. Right? Now, you know the mass of this is 25 grams. We have just weighed. It's 25 grams. Now, in order to find, now I'll show you the second way in which you can find the density of this stone. Dip this stone in the vessel containing Eureka, vessel containing water. The moment you dip the stone, some water is collected in the beaker. So now find the volume of this water which is collected. Now on the beaker you can even use, now this is a 100 ml beaker which can be directly used to find, or now here I've got a measuring cylinder. So using the measuring cylinder I can, now this is a 100 ml measuring cylinder. I pour this water content into this beaker. So it's around 14 ml. So that means the volume is around 14 ml, 14 to 15. So again, when I know the volume, I know the mass, I can find the density using Eureka Chem. Correct? Now if you want to find density of liquids, how do you find the density of liquid? Initially, you can use a beaker, empty beaker. Now you have to find mass of water. You cannot directly pour water on this weighing scale, isn't it? So use a beaker, find the mass of this empty beaker. So when I place it here, I get its mass to be 50 grams. Now I'm going to pour known amount of water in it. I'm going to pour some water in it. Now my initial reading was 50 grams. So when I pour water in it, it has come to 75 grams. Okay, so the water is 75 grams. Beaker with water is 75 grams. So you have to find the difference. 75 grams minus 50 grams will give you 25 grams. So that means mass of water is 25 grams. Okay, so mass of water. So now you need to find the volume of water. So I'm going to pour this here so that this measuring cylinder is empty. Place it here. Now the water, which is 25 grams, you have to find the volume of this 25 grams of water. So using measuring cylinder, you can find out that it is around 30 grams. Okay, so you know the mass, you know the volume. Using the formula density is equal to mass upon volume, you can find the density of this liquid water. Alright? So this is how you find density of liquids, you find density of irregular solids, you can also find density of regular objects using a formula. Okay. Now there is another instrument which is called as a density bottle, which will, you get density bottles which will consist of a fixed volume. So how do you find a density of, using a density bottle, density of liquid? For that you have to weigh the empty density bottle. Of course I don't have one here. You have to weigh the empty density bottle, find its mass, note down its mass, then pour water into the density bottle. There will be a stopper present. Close it using a stopper. If at all there is excess liquid present, it will flow out, and then with water place the density bottle on the weighing scale and find its mass again. So again difference between water in the density bottle and empty density bottle will give you mass of water that is being used. You know the volume because density bottles, they come in a fixed volume. They will have a fixed volume like 25 milliliters, 50 milliliters. So directly you know the mass, you know the volume, you can find the density of the given liquid using density bottle. Okay. So far we have learned about how to find density of a liquid using a measuring cylinder, density, then density using a density bottle of liquid. Then you will have learned how to find density of regular objects, and you will have also learned how to find density of irregular shaped objects using a measuring cylinder and also using an Eureka can. Okay. Now, what is the relation between SI unit of density and CGS unit of density? Okay, they both are related. In SI unit, it is in terms of kg per meter cube, and in terms of grams, CGS unit, it is grams per cubic centimeter. So 1 gram per cubic centimeter is equal to 1000 kg per cubic meter. This is how they are being related. Or 1 kg per cubic meter is equal to 10 to the power of minus 3 grams per cubic centimeter. Alright. So next is about flotation. So when do you say an object will float over a particular liquid? It is only when the object is lighter than the liquid that is being used. If you take a piece of wood, put it in water, you find that the wood will float over water. Now what is the reason? Wood will float over water because density of wood is less than the density of water. Then if you take a piece of iron, put it in water, you find iron will sink in water. Now what is the reason? Again, it is because density of iron is more than the density of water. That is the reason a piece of iron will sink in water. That same piece of iron, if you put it in mercury, you find that piece of iron will float over mercury. Now what is the reason? This is because the density of mercury is more than the density of iron. So that is the reason iron floats over mercury, but same iron piece will sink in water, because density of water is less than the density of iron. Okay. So we come to law of flotation. So what is this law of principle of flotation for that matter? When do objects float over water? When do objects sink in water? Or when do they get immersed in water? So there are two conditions in fact. So whenever there is an object that is placed, okay, what are the forces acting on the object? Now one force is the downward force acting on the liquid due to the weight of this object, and water in turn, liquid in turn will exert an upward force on the object that is placed in water. Alright, so that upward force is also called as buoyant force, or the other word is upthrust. Now, depending on whether the downward force is more than the upward force, or downward force is equal to the upward force, or downward force is less than the upward force, accordingly the object will sink, remain immersed, or it will float on the given liquid. Liquid could be any liquid: petrol, kerosene, water, glycerin, oil. Okay. So what are the conditions? Now for the object to sink in water, downward force must be for the object to sink. For this object to sink in water, you find in this case the downward force will be more than the upthrust or the buoyant force, thus making the object sink in water. Alright, so W, that is weight of the object, is greater than the upthrust, which is denoted by FB. B stands for buoyant force. So the object will sink in water. Now, what is the condition for object to remain immersed in water? it will not sink, but it will remain immersed in such a way that the top portion and the water level is the same. For that, you find when the weight of the object is equal to the upward force or the buoyant force. So that time you find the object will sink in such a way that the apparent force on the object is 0. So that is the time you find the object will remain immersed, but it will not sink at the bottom. And the third condition is that when the downward force is less than the upward force, is less than the upthrust, that is the time when the object will float over the given liquid. So in that case, FB becomes more if B is greater than the downward force W. So that makes the object float over water. Now you can see a ship which is made out of iron. Usually iron sinks in water, but a ship which is made out of iron, it does not sink in water, instead it floats in water. Now what is the reason? The reason for this is that the shape of the ship matters, and it is constructed in such a way that there is air present inside. So that because of the air, the average density of the ship as well as density of the air, it becomes less than the density of water, thus making the ship sink. If the same iron which is used to make a ship is being made into a ball and then placed in water, you will find it will sink. So what matters is the density, average density of the ship. Ice, when you put it in water, you find it, instead of sinking, it will float on water. What is the reason? When it is floating, it will float in such a way that the top portion is exactly at the water level. It is because, again, density matters. Weight of the ice is almost equal to the weight of water that is being displaced using law of flotation. So that makes the object float over, ice float over water. In submarines, how is it possible for submarines to go at the bottom of water as and when desired, to come out above water as and when desired? Submarines will have special water tanks which are called as ballast tanks, which can be filled with water as and when desired. So whenever the submarine has to go underwater, water is forcibly allowed to enter the ballast tanks. So when water enters the ballast tank, the average density of the submarine becomes more than the density of water. So that makes the submarine go underwater. Whenever they have to rise above water, the water that is being forced inside, water which is contained in the ballast tank, is forced out, thus reducing its average density. So average density is less of the submarine is less than the average density of water. So that is the time when the submarine will come up. Okay. How do balloons rise in water? How do balloons rise in air? Now, balloons, suppose they are being filled with helium. You find helium is lighter than air. Now, upthrust will be more, then the density, upthrust of air will be more, upward force will be more, then the density of and the weight of the balloon. So thus making the balloon rise. Downward force will be less, making the balloon rise. Now a person swimming in water and fresh water and a person swimming in sea water. Okay. In fact, it is easier to swim in sea water as compared to river water. Now again here the density matters. So when you add salt to it, when there is salt present in sea water, its density will be more as compared to pure water or river water. So when a person is swimming in river water, you find more part of the person, major portion will be immersed underwater, thus making it slightly difficult for the person to swim. Whereas same person, when he swims in river water, his weight the portion underwater will be less as compared to portion underwater when he is swimming in river water. Then another thing, uh, another example would be wherein whales. Okay, whales. When whales are sea animals, they have a special bladder which is called as a swim bladder. So again, as and when they have to go underwater, you find the swim bladder will be filled with water, thus increasing its average density. So density of water becomes less than the density of the whale, thus the whale goes underwater. As and when it has to come up for breathing purpose, you find the swim bladder will collapse, all the water is forced out, thus making the average density less than the density of water. This is how whales are able to come up, take a breath, and then again the swim bladder will be filled with water. Okay, so these are some of the examples related to objects, floating objects, why objects float over water. I hope you all have understood the lesson well. Okay, thank you.